I found an article from a few months ago about a very successful author who managed to earn out her book within 2 years. And if you don't know what that means, all that means is that if she got a $10,000 advance on her book, that means that she made $10,000 worth of book sales. So she earned out her advance. Typically, talking about the money side in the book business is seen as pretty taboo. A lot of people are uncomfortable talking about it. A lot of people are uncomfortable with it being talked about. We're going to be diving into a little bit more about what that looked like for her, what happened as a result of her earning out her advance. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. Hi there, my name is Lauren. I'm a best-selling, traditionally published author as well as book and publishing strategist, and I make it my mission to educate aspiring authors on the publishing space and the book business. Things that you don't know, things that you should know, things that you wouldn't think to know, etc. All right, so let's take a look at this. This article is called "My Book Earned Out in 2 Years and Nothing Happened," and it was published by the author of Poe for Your Problems, which launched September 7th of 2021. I'm sorry if I mispronounced her name, but this author's name is Catherine Baab-Muguira. I'm sorry, I'll just call her Catherine. I don't want to botch it any more than I already have. Her book was published through an imprint of Hachette, which is a Big Five publisher, and those are Penguin Random House, Simon & Schuster, Hachette, Macmillan, and HarperCollins. And she wrote this article, the one that I'm going to be looking at with you, she wrote this 1 month after earning out. So this is all very, very fresh as she's talking about it. Catherine was given an advance of $20,000, which is a lot. A publisher is going to give an author an advance based on the potential of their book and how well they think that they're going to do. So if you get a $20,000 book advance like Catherine did, that means that the publisher thinks your book is going to sell well enough to reach minimum of $20,000 of sales. Everything after that is a profit. Once an author earns out their advance, they are entitled to book royalties. She sold around 11,000 books in 23 months, which, by the way, if you hit even 4 figures when you're selling a book, much less 5, like, bravo, like that's a lot. Even some people who get published through large publishers like Hachette, sometimes they only reach a few thousand copies, which is very, very low in the context of a large publisher where they have a lot of these like huge bestsellers by big name authors and they're selling like millions of copies. So I think it's great that even on her own, she was able to sell 11,000 copies. That's amazing. And she does mention this too. Here, she said that 98% of traditionally published books don't sell more than 5,000 copies their first year in print, much less their second, third, etc. year in print. Further, only 25 or 30% of traditionally published books ever earn out. So when we're talking about what it means to earn out a book advance, like it's not often that happens. Oftentimes the publisher is going to be out of pocket most likely when they dish out these book advances. And even more so now, you're hearing a lot about these big flashy 6-figure book advances that these authors are getting. Some publishers do that in a preempt, which basically means that they think an author and their book, their project is so amazing that they aim to be the highest bidder out of all of the other interested publishers in order to partner with them to publish the book and take them off the market completely, right? So it's like, whoever is the highest bidder is going to get the author in their project. That's what a preempt deal is. So that's part of the reason why some large publishers will dish out 5 or even 6-figure advances in order to attract the book that they think is going to make the most money in the long run. Because the goal of every publisher is to have a really, really successful backlist title. Backlist titles are books that are older than 1 year and have a word of mouth that is so strong that they're going to continue passively selling even if they aren't new. So Catherine mentioned that she scooped up a grim $1.80 of income per book, rising to $2.25 per book after the first 5,000. Wow. I really like the details that she's talking about, because not often do you get, really nitty-gritty details like this. I find it really, really helpful. And the important thing to note about traditional publication is that there is a lot of credibility and prestige that comes with it, but you sell over the rights to your book to the publisher, and in exchange, you get royalties, advances, all that stuff. And generally, when you are entitled to book royalties, you are going to get at most 10% of the cut. So in terms of really, really basic math, I'm not talking about production or like little fees here and there, but just basic. If your book is selling for $10, your publisher is going to get 9 out of those $10 and you would get 1 at most. Rarely do authors get rich off of book sales alone. It's usually something else that accompanies it. So how did she manage to do this, right? How did she sell 11,000 copies of books and earn out her advance? She did dozens of podcast interviews on shows large and small that were popular and obscure. She placed excerpts or companion pieces everywhere from Literary Hub to the Wall Street Journal, spoke at major museums, universities, writers' conferences, fan cons, Zoom-based book clubs, libraries, and even the reception hall of a country church. She experimented with Amazon ads, and she worked with her publisher to arrange ebook promotions. So this is a really good example of what marketing often looks like for books. It's usually not one thing that's going to sell a book. Anyone who's promising that, I don't know. Yeah, you might want to do your research a little bit. But the point of book marketing is to have a combination of efforts. It's all a game of strategy. You can do one thing and not get a good response from it in terms of visibility or sales or positive word of mouth. You can do another thing and have it all work out really, really great. So there's not just one thing that's going to help sell a book. If you're out there wondering, what can I do to sell my book? A question like that is going to get a very broad answer, just because I feel like that the better answers are going to be customized to your particular situation, your particular book. There's different markets for different books. There's different audiences for different niches that your book might be involved in. It's just going to depend, but oftentimes it's going to be a combination of efforts. If you want to learn more about book marketing, I am subscribed to a newsletter that I absolutely love by Kathleen Schmidt. She worked in public relations for top publishers, and she talks a lot about what that looks like, kind of what her experience has been with promoting books, what works, what doesn't work. I think her paid newsletter is like $6 a month or something. I'm subscribed to that, but definitely check her out. She's awesome. She's like the Jane Friedman of book marketing. I really, really like her. Marketing is a long game. It requires a lot of consistency, and clearly she was dedicating herself to it for sure, in order to make $20,000 worth of sales on her own, which just that's a lot. That's a lot of books. And the reason that she made it her mission to earn out her book advance is because she didn't want to feel like she owed anyone any money, right? Like kind of like if you bought $20,000 worth of stuff on a credit card, you would feel obligated to pay that off somehow. So for her, that was her rationale for making this her goal. Even though now, in retrospect, she says that it shouldn't necessarily be the goal. And I really like how she puts it here. She says, had I really sacrificed all that time I could have dedicated to my family, to writing, or to, I don't know, some new and theoretically more rewarding pursuit, to appease a misguided sense of guilt, or worse, my ego? Yeah. And I really, really like how, I like the accountability piece here. I don't know, I just find it refreshing. I like how she's so transparent about it. She just, as a result of this, really, she just happened to become a part of the small percentage of authors who did earn out their advances and who still remain nobodies or maybe mid-lists. And mid-list authors are kind of what they sound like. They're not mega famous, but they're not like brand new either, right? They're kind of like, they're like the middle class of, authors, I guess. And I think that's really important too. With any book project that you're pursuing, whether you go the traditional route, whether you decide to self-publish it, or maybe even go with a hybrid press. I say this a lot, but I feel like it is really, really important in the beginning to identify your short-term goals, your long-term vision, and kind of what you want to see come out of writing a book, and how that book can help you with your long-term vision and your short-term goals. I feel like that is kind of like your compass, right? That's kind of like your North Star of like, what's going to make this whole thing worth it? Is it earning out your book advance? Is it getting into a book club somewhere? Is it just selling one copy? Like, what does your version of success look like? And use that as like your guide as you're going through the entire book process, because it can range from a few months to even a couple years, depending on, the route that you go, the avenue that you go. And here she's saying that she made this her North Star. And in retrospect, she was like, it's not like there was like a gospel choir that came out singing, with beams of light, when she earned out her advance. So she concludes, it does feel so great to publish a book. It was the crack high I had heard about, and that joy doesn't go away, but it does fade, receding in the rear view, right? So it's like, it can only last for so long. The I did it, being a part of the small percentage, I feel like the best that can come out of that is saying that you paid off your book advance, or saying that you're a part of the 25% of authors who did earn out their advance. If you want to check it out, read the whole thing. I did. I found it really interesting, and it gave me very similar vibes to Mangela Martin's book, Scratched. And she interviews a variety of authors, including Cheryl Strayed, including Roxane Gay, and they just talk about, the lifestyle of being a writer, the struggle that comes with it. Even some people talk about the money side of writing. I'm particularly interested in that avenue, just because, like I said in the beginning, it tends to be really taboo. It tends to be very hush-hush. People don't always like to acknowledge the business side of it unless you're in it. I find this stuff really interesting, so I thought I would just put it out there and get it put it out there as a conversation starter. So I hope you got something out of this video. If you have other ideas or things that you want me to speak on or open a conversation around, tell me what I need to be looking at and I'll make that just for you. So that's all I got. Have a good one, and read that article too if you have like some spare time or you just kind of want to poke around a little bit. It's very interesting. Okay, that's it. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.